Hello everyone, this is your typical TV dinner. And this is the ingredient list for the TV dinner. Some of these stuff I can't pronounce, and I bet you can't pronounce either. In fact, there is over 60 plus ingredients in this TV dinner. Now this is more like it. This is your typical Whole Foods dinner. It's got 5 ingredients: chicken, tomatoes, eggplant, rosemary, all grilled in olive oil. I would like to talk about the dangers of processed foods today. First I want to start with a story about myself. At age 21, I was 287 pounds with a resting blood pressure of 140 over 120. I found this out in a routine physical for a job application. The doctor came in and said, you got 2 choices. You can go on blood pressure medication, which you will never get off of, or you can change the way you live. I chose the latter. When you go to the store, you have the choice to purchase processed foods or whole foods. You can shop on the outside of the aisles or into the low-calorie, low-fat processed foods in the inside of the aisles. But today we're going to talk about the dangers of processed foods, its links to chronic diseases, the positives of eating healthy, a whole foods diet, and what we can do to switch from whole foods switch from processed foods to whole foods. Our society has changed the whole food diet from the 18th century to mainly processed diet to the 21st century is one of the main causes of today's health issues. This includes obesity and chronic disease. The world's population fights today. Obesity is an all-time high. This is from R.J. Johnson from the Journal of Clinical Nutrition in his article about sugar consumption. And starting in 1700 to the year 2000, from 1900 to 2000, the sugar consumption has increased 8-fold in the United States. 8-fold. And obesity is at an all-time high. Is at nearly 50% of all Americans are obese. This coincides with the obesity rate for the low-fat dietary guidelines. This graph reference from the National Center of Health Statistics 2009 March chart book from age group 30 to 44 years in 1971, published from 1976, was roughly at 15%. And a gradual increase over 30 years has moved up to a 35% obesity rate. That's nearly a 20% increase obesity rate from that group from age 30 to 44. When we're supposed to be our healthiest, when we're supposed to be our most vibrant, and our prime of our lives. Because of the addictive properties of these food additives, people are struggling. 35% of people struggle with obesity and being overweight. And one of these addictive ones is fructose. In fact, R.J. Johnson states in an article in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, if the hypothesis is correct that fructose has a role in cardiovascular disease, then the number of predictions should arise from the studies. First, fructose intake will be a risk factor for hypertension, insulin resistance, obesity, type 2 diabetes, kidney disease, stroke, cardiovascular disease, and mortality. Eating these foods will decrease your mortality, your vitality, how long you live, how many experiences you experience. And this is just one food additive that we are consuming too much of. Man, of all the food additives we eat and ingredients we are eating too much of has contributed to chronic disease. Which brings me to my next point. Processed foods have been linked to so many chronic disease. In an article by Dr. Joseph Marcola from Mercola.com called 9 Ways Eating Processed Foods Will Make You Sick and Fat, he discusses the diseases that are linked to consumption of processed foods, including sugar. High fructose corn syrup causes mitochondrial malfunction, obesity, and obesity-related issues. artificial ingredients and preservatives that our bodies are not supposed to digest, causing health issues, problems, sometimes cancer, allergic reactions, and so many more. Imagine you could change your risk of getting all these chronic diseases just by changing the way you eat. So we just talked about how processed foods are altering and affecting the population's obesity rate and links to chronic disease. The opposite of eating processed foods would be a whole foods diet. This brings me to the topic of the positives of eating whole foods diet. There are many positives, too many to count. The two ones that we're going to focus on is your good health and healthy weight. So let's start with good health. In a WebMD article by R. Morgan Griffin states many studies have found that diet high in healthy foods like fruits and vegetables and whole grains are associated with reduced risk of disease such as cardiovascular disease and many types of cancer and type 2 diabetes. Reducing the risk of these chronic and sometimes fatal conditions should be everyone's priority. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what your condition is. It's only human nature. So if eating processed foods contributes positively to your health and eating foods improve on vitality, why do we conform to this food? Eating healthy will contribute to lower health risks, which means less trips to the doctor and more money in the pocket. Eating a whole foods diet can contribute to healthy weight. Fruits, vegetables are packed with nutrition. They're high in fiber and low in calories. So you don't have to count calories when you eat these whole foods. Paired with whole grains, you can turn fruits and vegetables into tantalizing meals that satisfy you all day long. Eating a whole foods diet has helped me keep off 110 pounds. 110 pounds since that doctor visit. So there's some things that we can do to reverse this trend. How can we go from eating preserved foods to whole foods? The easiest one is just eliminate processed foods. But first, I recommend doing some research. Do some research on your current diet. What are the things you struggle with? Take a food journal. That helped me immensely when keeping my weight off, is keeping that food journal, keeping track of what you eat. Remember, you control what you buy at the store. You control it. You can buy the produce and healthy foods. You don't have to buy the stuff on the inside of the aisles. That is one key. Fruits, vegetables, lean meats, whole grains will lead to better health. So we just talked about how you can improve your eating habits and what you can do to switch to a whole foods diet. Before we conclude, I want you to think about what you want in terms of your own health and well-being. What is important to you? And small changes you can fix in your diet to contribute positively to your vitality. At the time of the physical, I was 287 pounds. Now I'm around 180. It took a doctor's visit for me to change my life. Don't let processed foods devalue your quality of life. Think about food that you eat as fuel. Be smart, be educated, be healthy. Remember, you are what you eat. Thank you.